What's up, guys? Hi, and welcome to Uncle Scott's Kitchen. Today we've got a big, in-depth review and cooking feature based on this guy. This is a new, updated model Matfer 9.5-inch carbon steel skillet. It's the new version of this skillet, which you might have seen me review back in July of 2020. So over 2 years since that review, Matfer has updated this skillet. Some of the changes they've made to the updated model are that there is a logo in the handle. The handle has a texture to it now. Still oven safe. It has cleaner welds. And two things that we're really going to drill down on in this video are the change to the shape of the bottom of the pan. The new pan has an upward bow in the bottom. Should help mitigate warping issues. We're going to check on that. And also Matfer says that these pans are shipped without a coating. Now the old pan, it was kind of a bear to get that coating off the carbon steel. Carbon steel is a reactive metal. It will rust. It can be damaged in the shipping process. So all these pans come with a coating on there. Matfer's coating was always very difficult to remove. These new models are shipped in these plastic bags, and this is supposed to take place of the coating. Now, that being said, a couple of weeks ago, I also reviewed or did a feature on this guy. This is the updated model of this 11 7/8" pan. And I was told that that pan had no coating on there. And once I got to seasoning the pan, it turned out it still did have a coating on there. So there's been a little bit of back and forth, and if there's any such thing as controversy in carbon steel, there's been a little bit of controversy about that coating or lack thereof with these pans. So the first thing we're going to do is, when we clean this thing, is double check and see if there is a coating on this pan or not. And it's kind of crazy doing a video. I actually do not know. So normally someone would write a script or kind of an outline for a video and have a beginning, middle, and end. I'm doing the beginning. I have no idea which way this thing is going to branch off. So we'll find out about that here in just a minute. Now, if I sound a little more cranky and gravelly and gruff than usual, it's actually not the case. I have a cold. My little son started back to preschool. It's a germ factory. And from now until next summer when school lets out, probably going to be sick about every 3 weeks. Now, back in that other review video, when I reviewed this pan, I got some warping issues. So I really like this pan for gas cooktops, but for the flat tops, the inductions and the electrics, I didn't like it as much because I got some warping issues. I've got the same induction burner, which I kind of despise, to be honest, that warped this pan when I was cooking some Beyond Meat, kind of faux Italian sausages. We're going to recreate that test with some more Beyond Meat Italian sausages in that same induction burner, and that will really put that change in the shape to the bottom of this pan to the test. Now remember, when carbon steel is new, it is shiny and silvery. After you use it for a couple of years, it looks like this. One good piece of advice I have for everyone is to not try to turn this new pan into this pan on day one. Just do your cooking, learn how to cook in the pan, let that seasoning develop. I am going to show a trick to kind of jumpstart that process, but this pan will not be jet black like this one on day one. Don't worry about doing that. Just cook in your pan and let that seasoning develop. So with that said, let's jump in and get this thing cleaned and do some cooking. Okay, so I've got the pan washed. I don't think there's any coating on there. I went about 2 minutes of scrubbing with some Barkeeper's Friend, hot water, dish soap, and you can see a little bit of a line, and that may be where they brush the coating off. We'll see. So let's go ahead and start seasoning this pan for the first time, and we'll see if anything pops up on there. Now I'm going to go with I'm actually using Kirkland canola oil. And the original card for the old Matfer pan said to use 1/3 cup of oil and 2/3 cup of salt for a medium-sized pan, which I take to be that 11 7/8. So with this smaller pan, I'm going to go with 1/4 cup of oil and a half a cup of salt. Those old directions say to use the skins of 2 potatoes. Again, for a slightly bigger pan than this, I'm going to use skin of a potato and a half. Here's my salt. And I got my potato peels here. I'm going to use half of these for this first round. And we get to stand here and stir for 15 minutes. I want to point out these 2 cards here. They look the same. One came from an old Matfer and one came from a newer Matfer. And they have different seasoning directions on there. The old one was a little bit more in-depth, and that's what I'm going with. The newer one just says to fry in oil, potato peel or slices sprinkled with a lot of salt for a few minutes. So there's not quite as much detail on these newer directions. Since I had trouble with that other pan getting it seasoned correctly, using the newer directions, I'm just going to use what I know works and use those older directions. Now, luckily, I got to buy these pans. I bought them with my own money, but I got to buy these a little bit early. And Matfer said I'm somewhat of a guinea pig with them. And I've been talking to them about this newer card. And I told them, the problems with it, especially if the instructions are not quite as detailed, it may confuse some people. And they are thinking about, I haven't heard for sure, but they're thinking about changing up that card. So in our little way here at Uncle Scott's Kitchen, maybe we get to help out just a little bit. The salt and the oil and the potatoes, it's all turning brown. And I have to turn the fan back on here for in just a minute. But what I wanted to say, though, is that as opposed to that other bigger updated Matfer pan, this one does not appear to have any coating on there. So that's the way that other one was supposed to be. Whether I just got the fluke or what, who knows? We'll never know. But this pan does not seem to have any coating on there, and I don't see anything that's sticking or needs to be deglazed by any means. So that is good so far. So, okay, here we are after round 1. See a little bit of color change on there. Get everything wiped out. One thing I note is that the handle gets very hot, especially on this gas stove. So it's not a stay cool handle by any means. Now we're ready to do this a second time. Second round of salt, oil, and potato peels. Let's get going. Now, one thing that people need to know is that this is only for the initial seasoning. When a pan is brand new, you do not have to do this oil, potato peels, and salt every time you season this pan. This is only for when the pan is brand new, one time, and then we are done. Okay, so I got all that wiped out, and what I want to show here is this other Matfer that I showed earlier. This is a pan with 2.5 years of cooking on it. This pan has been seasoned and never cooked in. So definitely a difference in color, and I still implore people not to try to turn this pan into this day 1. Just cook and that seasoning will come in. It will change color over time. Now the instructions also say to put some oil in the pan and bring it up to heat, which I'm going to take to mean up to the smoking point of this oil. Dump that out and wipe it out, and then we are ready to start cooking. And this part right here, what I'm doing right now, is essentially what you would do for a maintenance seasoning down the road. If you need to touch up your pan, if you need to re-season it, wash it out really well, and then put a millimeter or so of oil in the pan, put it on a burner, bring it up until the oil starts smoking, wipe it out really, really well until it looks dry, let it cool down, and you should be good to go for a maintenance seasoning. We're going to call that a seasoned pan. So let that cool down, then we're going to do the proverbial fried egg test. Oh Lord. Put a good tablespoon of butter. Let it stop bubbling. 1 egg. We ready? First egg. Woo! It's cooking a little fast. This is my first one, still getting used to it. Let's try the flip. Nope. There we go. And nailed the flip. Give that flip a B+. And there it is, a seasoned carbon steel skillet. Very first egg slide, so I like that. Okay, so we seasoned the pan. We cooked an egg in it. The egg slid around non-stickly, if that's a word. What if you do want to add a little color to this pan and kind of jumpstart it to take it from this to something a little closer to this? Now, we can't do it in one session, but one thing you can do to get the process started is to sear some red meat in the pan on a gas cooktop. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the pan to a little bit higher heat here. There's going to be some splattering and smoking. I'll have to turn the vent on. But searing meat, red meat at higher heat, can tend to jumpstart the color change of the pan. So let's give that a try and cook some burgers. There we go. Okay, so look at the color change we've gotten on the pan just by cooking one hamburger. First hamburger I cooked in this pan. One of the manufacturers says you can cook steaks in a new carbon steel skillet 10 in a row. I don't have the appetite or the budget to cook 10 steaks in a row to darken in a pan. But you can do it if you want, but ground beef works pretty darn well too. Now, did I happen to mention that I have a cold and feel absolutely horrible? What might make me feel a little bit better? Oh, no. Unfortunately, I had to buy these. I have to do this because when I reviewed the other Matfer, which I can't find at the moment, this induction burner right here warped it when I was cooking another batch of these Beyond Meat, Beyond sausages. I would put the pan on the burner on power level 1 on an induction burner and everything was okay. I would go up to power level 2. Now the thing goes up to 10. But just going up to power level 2, that thing would warp immediately. It was kind of crazy. I'd go back down to power level 1 and it would return to shape in real time. Craziest thing. So, in my opinion, these new Matfers, the handle is nice. The lack of that coating is nice, helps with the seasoning. But this warping mitigation, that shape in the bottom of the pan, to me, that's the biggest change with these new updated model Matfers. So this is going to be a big test. This burner warped the old one. We'll see if the new one does not warp. Let's go. Starting out power level 1. No warping. And I'm going to go ahead and move the camera so that we can see a little bit better over here. I think what I'm going to do is take 2 of these and split them down the middle and get some oil in the pan and see if they fry up okay like that. These things feel greasy, but they do not feel like meat. I don't see much of a donut effect at the moment. I'm going to go up to power level 2 now. And this is where that previous pan would warp. Let's see if we get a donut. See a little bit of a donut taking shape there. But that upward bow should be sending any kind of deformation upwards. So that's not going down. It should not be a spinner. Not spinning. Oh, delicious beyond meat. This is the temperature, power level 2, at which the other pan was a spinner. That's just the slick surface there. That is not spinning. That's not rotating. It is not a spinner. So I give Matfer credit. Okay, no spinning on the old Matfer, and you know, I feel so bad. This thing looks so awful. This actually is making me a little bit perhaps delirious. Mmm. I don't know what to think about those Beyond Meats. Regardless, the new updated model Matfer pans. I think the cooking performance is on par, the exact same as the old Matfer pans, and that's to say, great cooking performance. In the one area, those older Matfer pans had trouble, warping issues on flat tops. I reproduced the exact same conditions that warped my previous model Matfer pan. In the new updated model with that upward bow in the bottom of the pan, it did not warp, and that is a big deal. So I like the changes Matfer has made. Great cooking performance, and these updated Matfers get a thumbs up. Now that being said, I would still throw out the caution there. That first one I got, that other pan, it did come with a coating on there. This one did not. I would double check if you get one of these updated models before you go crazy. Scrub a little part of the pan, maybe somewhere on the bottom, and make sure there's no coating on that pan before you start those seasoning directions. That updated card that comes with the pan, I would ignore the directions on there, I hate to say that, and do exactly what we showed in today's video. You saw that it works well. Got the pan seasoned, and our first egg was nonstick and slid around. And really all we did there is just use the old school Matfer directions. We just didn't use the more loosey-goosey updated directions. Also, if you decide you're going to get one of these pans after watching this video, a nice thing to do, since I buy all these pans myself, is to click those affiliate shopping links and buy through one of those. That really does help out around here. Thank you for watching. Make sure you leave your questions, comments, and feedback below. We'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Kitchen.